All right, let's dive right in. So China is, by a long shot, the world's biggest market for what they call new energy vehicles, or NEVs. But behind those huge sales numbers, there's a really fascinating puzzle. What actually convinces someone to ditch their gas car and go electric? Well, today we're going to dig into the research and find out.
So what's the secret ingredient here? I mean, is it all about saving money at the pump? Or is it about saving the planet? Or is there something else? Some hidden factor that just flips that switch in a person's mind. That's exactly what we're here to figure out.
And to get why this question is so important, you just have to look at this one number, 50%. China makes up about half of all the new energy vehicles on the entire planet. So yeah, what happens in this market, it doesn't just stay there. It basically shapes the future of electric cars for all of us.
But of course, there's a catch. Even with those massive numbers, a lot of consumers are still on the fence. They're kind of stuck in that wait-and-see mode, They're worried about stuff like, where am I going to charge this thing? Or how long does it take? And it's that hesitation that got researchers thinking, okay, what really makes people take the plunge?
And that brings us to the two main suspects in this whole puzzle, right? The most obvious reasons you'd think someone would buy an electric car, it's either good for your wallet or it's good for the planet. Simple enough. But which one is the real driver? Which one truly has the power?
So let's break this down. On one hand, you've got the wallet. We're talking about the economic stuff, right? Lower fuel costs, that's a big one. Plus, government subsidies and tax breaks. Real money back in your pocket. Then on the other hand, you've got the planet. This is more about the big picture. Cleaner air for everyone, cutting down CO2 emissions, even just making our cities a little less noisy.
Okay, so how did researchers actually get to the bottom of this? Well, a team from the journal Travel Behavior and Society didn't just, guess. They got serious. They built this really sophisticated model to map out the entire psychological journey a person goes on, from first hearing about a benefit to actually deciding, yep, I'm buying one. Now, their model is based on this thing called social exchange theory. And I know that sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. It's the idea that we're all constantly weighing the pros and cons of our decisions. It's like we have a little scale in our heads. When it comes to buying a car, if the benefits stack up higher than the costs, boom, we make the exchange, we buy the car. And this is what they came up with, their pathway to purchase. Now, I know it looks a little complex, but the key takeaway is this. It's not just a straight line from, oh, that's a cool benefit, to, I'm buying it. They had a theory that these benefits, money or planet, first make you feel satisfied with the car. That satisfaction then makes you supportive of government policies for NEVs, and that whole process is what finally leads you to wanting to buy one.
Let's just simplify that whole thing. Think of it like a domino effect, okay? Domino 1, you see a benefit, either for your wallet or for the planet. Domino 2, that benefit makes you feel really satisfied with the idea of an NEV. Domino 3, because you're satisfied, you start to support government policies that push these cars. And then finally, all of that together knocks over the last domino. You actually develop the intention to buy one. So, it's a chain reaction.
But, and this is where it gets super interesting, when they tested this model with actual data from real people, something fascinating happened. See those dashed lines? Those are the connections that turned out to be super weak or just not there at all. So while saving money did make people feel satisfied, it didn't directly lead them to want to buy the car. That's huge. Money alone, surprisingly, wasn't enough to tip over that final domino.
And this, my friends, is where our little investigation takes a huge twist. The results just didn't quite make sense on their own. It felt like there was some kind of hidden variable, a crucial piece of the puzzle that was working behind the scenes and changing the whole picture. Because the data was basically screaming at them that not all consumers were the same. There was one single factor that was splitting the entire group right down the middle. And that factor, it was the buyer's level of education. As soon as the researchers split their data into two distinct groups, one with a high school education or less, and the other with a college education or more, everything suddenly clicked into place. The whole puzzle became crystal clear. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. For potential buyers with a high school education or less, what really mattered for their satisfaction were the economic benefits. The wallet was absolutely king. But for the group with a college degree or higher, the story was completely different. For them, it was the environmental benefits, the good of the planet, that had a much, much stronger pull.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Here's a direct quote from the study that just nails this down. This wasn't some minor difference, you guys. This was a statistically significant finding, and it completely changes how you have to think about selling these cars.
So, the secret ingredient? It turns out it wasn't one thing at all. It was two totally different things for two totally different groups of people.
So what's the final verdict here? What does all this mean for the real world? Well, it means that if you're trying to sell more of these cars, whether you're a marketer or a government policymaker, you absolutely cannot use a one-size-fits-all strategy. It just won't work. You need a specific playbook.
And here's that playbook broken down. To reach one group, you gotta lead with all the money talk. Discounts, fuel savings, tax credits, all of it. But for the other group, you need to talk about green values, a cleaner future, and reducing our carbon footprint. But here's the key. The end goal for both is getting them to feel satisfied, because that feeling is the gateway to a sale for absolutely everyone. The big takeaway? You have to segment your marketing. Period.
So we're going to leave you with a thought. Now that you know the playbook, the next time you see an ad for an electric car, pay attention. What are they trying to sell you on? Are they talking about saving you money, or are they talking about saving the world? Now you know exactly what to look for.